Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Chock full of human interest and drama.
It really is. This podcast is. We've got Chris.
This is where I'd say the butler did it, but I've never seen these people before in my life.
and I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. Those are two good quotes. Were both of those quotes from Spider-Man? They were.
I
but
love
today,
that, yeah, Amazing Spider-Man. Every issue just starts off with like, "Oh, you guys are so lucky that you're going to be able to read this comic because we already wrote it, so we know what happens, but you don't. You're such in for a treat. We're jealous.
Yeah,
of
you haven't gotten to experience it yet. I'm so jealous. Yeah, we've been having a good time reading Amazing Spider-Man. We're on issue number 9, so we'll read that at the end of the episode. But first off, we are continuing Captain America. We haven't read some of this Winter Soldier stuff in a little while, but we've been wanting to do it kind of piece by piece instead of all at once. But we are on Captain America Winter Soldier Volume 2. Was there a name for this volume? I don't remember.
The Winter Soldier Part 1.
One was out of time.
I think it was just
All
a Winter Soldier.
Okay, cool. By Ed Brubaker, Michael Lark. This was from 2003, 2004?
Steve Epting. This is 05.
Oh,
and
Steve Epting.
Yeah, Epting's the primary writer. We got Lee Weeks in here also.
Michael Lark is the one of the backup pencilers, right?
Yes. And actually, as a result of, Lark and Brubaker had worked together before on Gotham Central, and I think this may have gotten Lark the job for Daredevil with Brubaker shortly thereafter.
That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking.
Because this is
sorry, Steve Epting.
Because this is, the volume started in 04, like November, so we're probably in the August timeframe of 05, I would say.
Yeah. This is when we really get into all the meat of the actual Winter Soldier related parts of the story. The first arc was a lot of setup, and now we're really getting into it. So this is issues 8 through 14. The trade skips issue number 10 because issue number 10 was a House of M tie-in. But you know what? We're not going to skip it. Well, we are going to skip it, but then we're going to go back to it. So we're going to read issues 8 and 9. Then we're going to read 11, 12, 13, 14. Then we're going to read number 10. Then we're going to read Amazing Spider-Man number 9. So none of that is confusing at all. Okay.
And whenever we get back to Captain America, we're going to read a couple issues, then the 65th anniversary special and Winter Soldier Winter Kills because it's all weirdly collected.
Weirdly collected. All right. Well, anyways, is there anything we need to remember from the first volume?
Bucky's alive.
Bucky's alive, but it's not confirmed. They're just like, that guy looks like Bucky.
Yeah,
and
but with long hair, so it doesn't look like Bucky.
Well, he looks exactly like Sebastian Stan from the movies and TV shows. It's
really uncanny, isn't it?
They considering Sebastian Stan had to be 20 years old when this came out. They found a guy that looks just like this drawing. And the other big thing is Red Skull is dead. The villain of this book is now Alexander Lukin, a Russian guy who hates America.
Hates it, but he has the Cosmic Cube, and he is using it to hate America even more. Wow.
This is the first time I've read this since the Winter Soldier movie came out, actually. So
same. Yeah, this is the first time I've read it since this came out way back when.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right into it. We start with a flashback here where the Russians have learned that Captain America has been killed over the ocean, and the leader is take, me to the site, presumably to pick up any remains that they can. But back at the present day, Nick Fury and Sharon Carter are showing Captain America pics of Bucky, and they're like, "Hey, we think this guy's Bucky. He's been spotted at all these assassinations and stuff." And he's like, "That ain't Bucky. No way. What am I supposed to do with this? No. Captain America is defiant. But we get some flashbacks to some action last night in Philadelphia where, what was the deal here? Scientists were killing a bunch of random people, and there was a bomb.
Lucan set off a bunch of bombs in Philadelphia to help power the Cosmic Cube because it was previously broken. And now it's at full power. I do that they hang the hat on this though. Because the fans were like, this is Bucky was one of those characters, and we said this in the last episode, which I think was episode 148. Was Bucky is like Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy. They don't come back from the dead. They're the kind of characters that aren't allowed to come back from the dead. So Bucky's back from the dead, and you can read all the letters at the time, and they're like, This is stupid. This is a really dumb idea. Who is this character? This can't be real. This is the Cosmic Cube doing stuff. And so I like at least that they lampshade it and put it through Captain America's perspective that like this isn't real. This is wrong. So at least like the audience is brought along with him as opposed to them trying to like hard sell us something.
Yeah, and there is the Cosmic Cube involved, so you like kind of assume like, okay, there's going to be some kind of Cosmic Cube shenanigans where somebody's mind is changed.
Well,
blah, 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 blah.
I grew up in the comics where Peter Parker's parents came back from the dead, but it was actually the Chameleon pulling a scheme. So, or was it Harry Osborn pulling a scheme? So, like that's what I'm used to. I'm like, this is clearly
it was the Chameleon working for Harry Osborn.
Okay,
yes.
there we go.
Wow, it was both.
We'll do that another day.
We should do that. I've never read those. Yeah. So they're at this fight in Philly, and the MODOK squad, but not the MODOK that we've talked about before. It's the MODOK MODOC squad, military operatives designed only for combat. They don't really have anything to do with the story.
As opposed to military operatives designed only for what else?
Only for kissing.
Kissing. Yeah. But you know, it's a fun little fight scene.
You know, speaking of, I know it's a side a digression even. But do you know who killed Spider-Man's parents for real? Because he's sort of a cameo in these issues.
In these issues?
Yes.
Oh, is it that guy at the end who I don't remember, who kind of reminds me of the Punisher and Deathshot and
was it the Red Skull's daughter?
No, it's not the Red Skull's daughter. It's the Red Skull. He killed
the Red
Parker's parents.
They were spies, right?
Yeah, they were spies, and I guess they were involved with his organization. There's an Amazing Spider-Man annual that I read for the first time recently on Marvel Unlimited, available now, where he goes to Africa and is like, oh no, my parents were actually good spies, but the Red Skull killed them.
Wow, poor Spider-Man. But back to Captain America. We have all right. So what did this fight really have to do with anything? Not much, right? It's just these MODOK things, and Cap is there fighting. Oh, he does see Bucky there for a second, and he's like Bucky, and that guy's like, who the hell's Bucky? And so Captain America's just like, I don't know what I saw. But Fury's telling him, like, listen, Bucky's been at every big assassination from, like, the years 1950 up through, like, blah, blah, blah. He's only aged 5 years. This is the mythical Winter Soldier that we've been talking about. He looks so American. They're able to sneak him by anywhere. And
I do like the touch, and because it's stupid. Like, it looks like he's aged 3 years since then. I'm like...
Yeah.
I mean, you showed me a bunch of pictures of Sebastian Stan. I'm like, yep, that was Sebastian Stan 3 years ago. Like, I couldn't tell you that.
Right. I have no idea.
Right.
Like, the 50s, though, that's a long time. If it was supposed to be like 50 years ago and he's only aged 3 years, I get that.
I get that, but not the specific 3 years.
Right.
I'd be like, he looks pretty much the same. Maybe a few.
I saw Elizabeth Olsen on Hot Ones, and I was like, she's aged 6 years from Avengers 2.
I know. It is very specific.
Like, I mean, we watched the Loki TV show, and I'm like, wow, they put scenes in from Avengers 1. He looks younger. But I couldn't tell you that was 10 years ago. Or 9 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Paul Rudd's going to age 20 years.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd, he's using the same Winter Soldier technique of every night he freezes himself.
he finished Clueless, and then they pulled him out for... My Idiot Brother, and then they pulled him out, and then that was it.
I'm pretty sure that's all actors are just stored somewhere where they unfreeze them.
Yeah, that's the secret. So anyway, yes, yes, there's a lot of like flashbacks and flash forwards, but these are very quick reads. Like you're able to kind of keep up with what's going on. They've got sort of the 1945 timeline, and then the 2 days ago timeline, and then like this is what's happening right now timeline, and they do a good job of like bouncing back and forth. And it is still, I think we mentioned it last episode, very kind of 24E. Like there's a lot of like, this is a terrorist attack that just happened. It's very serious, everyone, in a world where like Doctor Doom exists. But it's still, I mean, it's good. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very much of that era. I can't remember. I think it was these issues where like he's got WMDs, because that was like the big scary word. of 05.
All right.
But there's a flashback that does confirm that the Russians found Bucky's body. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, also, Sharon Carter learns that her boyfriend, Neil Tapper, is dead. He's the one who found one of the bombs. Oh, no. So sad.
Yeah.
Dies off screen and nobody cares about it.
R.I.P. Neil Tapper. Well, we did see him find the bomb, so
at
we
the end
didn't
of
see
the
his
era,
body explode.
But he's gone. So issue number 9 opens with okay, who was this guy? This is the guy who kind of looks like the Punisher. Maybe I was thinking Dead Crossbones is his name. They don't say his name in these issues, the poor guy. But Crossbones is here. He's breaking into some facility. We'll learn more about that later. But on the mission, they're on a mission. Sharon and Steve and Shield are on a mission. And Sharon is not happy with Steve. So we get a flashback to why.
No, well, we also get the worst panel of the week here.
The worst?
What? The weird one that I texted you guys about Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is when I was like...
Steve's third eye opening.
Yeah. He's got like an extra smile or mouth on his forehead. He looks like super chubby. I don't understand what's going on with this. This is the first time I noticed, this isn't Steve Epting. Because I hadn't noticed like artists change that often, and I think you didn't even notice Michael Lark had like a whole issue in the last volume.
Nope.
But I'm like, Epting is too good for this. What happened here? And then I look and I'm like, oh, who is this Michael Lark? And then I was like, Michael Lark is good. What the fuck happened here? So this is not his best work. Specifically these couple pages. Sharon looks crazy too. If you that picture where it kind of looks like he's got another mouth on his forehead, if you turn it upside down and cover up the rest, it does look like a weird mouth of like a, I don't know, like a duck or something. I spent a good long while doing that. It's really fun when you flip your phone over and then the picture flips with you, so you can't follow it along.
Yep. Oh, no, too bad. Turn that off. Turn off auto rotate. So Sharon is not happy with Steve because flashback. Steve. We don't even actually go flashback to this one. We flash back to Sharon confronting Captain America about how he told Nick Fury to take her off the team for the Cronus op. Cronus is the company they're going to attack. And she's not happy about it. And then flashback further to Steve actually saying that to Nick Fury. And Nick Fury is like, listen, I can't get clearance for this op, but we're just going to do it anyway. So the evidence is kind of thin. So, yeah.
I like too that he didn't even request permission. He's like, "We're just gonna do it." I know they would say no, so I'm not gonna ask.
I'm not even gonna ask. Well, now, like back to the operation. I'm not sure what the plan was because they're like all these guards outside the doors, and they're like busting through them, no problem. And they get to the main doors, and Captain America bursts in and like pins down Luke, and he's like, "You got some answering to do or something." And
I mean, I think they want to get the cube, but Cap is like, I don't even care about the cube. I want to find Bucky.
Yeah. But I'm like, how were you expecting to get the cube? Like, what were y'all? I don't know what they're.
We were going to yell at them until they admitted their guilt, because that always works.
I mean, he probably thought they were like a later scene, just in a boardroom, being like, "All right, everyone, bid on this evil item for sale."
That's true. Maybe they thought it was that kind of a thing. Yeah. But they're like, dang, you ain't got nothing on him. Steve Rogers, you're in trouble. They're like, Steve, you got to apologize to our friend Lucan.
Well, they're also like, bro, the vice president's chief of staff is like right there. And also like the head of some blah, 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 other, like the UN is also right here. Mm-hmm. Like, Steve, like, this was a fucking bad time to just go off half-cocked.
And they're like...
Some good 2005 political commentary about Blackwater and Dick Cheney's connections to oil money. That I guess Roxxon is mentioned later, the Exxon of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, Cronus is like buying them, and so they like want this deal to go through, and yeah.
Yep. So take that, Dick Cheney.
But Cap has to leave with his tail between his legs, but then they reveal. Actually, the Cosmic Cube faked it out. Nobody really famous was actually there. Like, you actually weren't in trouble, Steve. Whew.
Wow. And Lucan is like talking to one of his partners or something that he has. There's like only one other person there. And Lucan's also kind of talking to himself. And, he's losing his mind a little
crazy.
Mm-hmm. But we go back at the end of this issue that who did Crossbones rescue? It was the Red Skull's daughter being busted out of a re-education facility where she was being programmed to think she was somebody else. Wow. This never came back in these issues, did it?
Not in
No,
these
that's
issues.
yeah.
I think she's the main villain of like the '07 event Fear itself, if I recall
I don't think
correctly.
it was '07, but it does happen, in a few years, Fear itself. And she does have an arc before that in Captain America
Yeah.
where she becomes like the new Red Skull, basically.
Yeah, and there's a Serpent Squad stuff that doesn't come into play in this arc, but the Serpent Squad definitely shows up.
Yeah, it's
I
just
don't
kind of
remember
reminding
none of
you
that.
Crossbones is still a character.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Crossbones. Thanks for rescuing the Red Skull
Brubaker
Squad.
specifically says, like, in these letters, like, that he is starting to map out, like, the full story at this point, so they're not individual issues anymore, which kind of makes sense because some of these issues can be read in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was making dinner during one of these issues, and literally I was like, did my timer not go off? Because I thought it only had like 4 minutes left. And then I looked and it was like 30 seconds left. I was like, oh, that took 4 minutes.
Yeah. Issue number 10, where we will come back to later. We've discussed this already, skipping it. Issue number 11. The Cube is still driving Lucan mad. He's lost a file. But someone left some confidential. Oh, that's what he was looking for.
It's
Finally
file,
reading it
yeah.
back. So he's been looking for like these files that he has on Bucky, and he sends them to Steve's home using the cosmic cube and like plants them there so that Steve will see them. Because Steve gets home and they're like, "Oh, who put this here?" And the robot security is like, "Nobody's been in here." But it's all these doctor's notes about how this is really, I think, the biggest meat issue of this whole thing, because I thought it was a really interesting read. The doctor who like found Bucky and repaired him and blah, 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 all that. It's all of his notes about the entire process. Their goal wasn't even to bring him back to life. Their goal was to look for super soldier serum in his blood. But then they're like, hey, maybe, he's warmed up. Let's try to give him some electricity, give him a shock, pump some adrenaline into his heart, and he wakes right up. They give him a metal arm. They re-educate him, use him as a killing machine, and we get like a greatest hits of him kind of, being out and about, being used as a weapon. A bunch of years throughout all this as well. In 1957, they start to see like, all right, he's getting mentally unstable. He's questioning orders. He's attacking his partners. Let's start keeping him frozen. We'll only use him, just like Paul Rudd when we need him. Other than that, we're going to keep him locked up. I feel like I've been talking for a while.
That's how it is. It's a weird issue though, because it's all like typed narration, and it's really good. It feels like. I hesitate. I both think I'm going to complain about Lost, but also it feels like one of those Lost episodes where they just like, we're going to explain the entire back history for this one episode. This is now the interlude episode where we're going to do like the entire backstory. And they blow through it all rather than trying to keep it a mystery. I mean, they've been digging around for 10 issues, but
it's not even that. Maybe this is like me having read it and already know the story, but you've already gotten bits and pieces of all of this throughout. So now it's just almost like a confirmation. And it's like, it doesn't feel like we're learning all this new information. It doesn't feel like a big info dump that's hard to keep track of. So
it doesn't.
We've had enough of an outline so that we can follow along.
It's also funny, like reading this back to back, and I don't think it's like any big secret or anything, but I don't know if I picked up on it the first time I read it, but at the end of issue 4, with the flashback issue to the World War II like Russian front, this Lucan's ancestor, right? His dad has that line to Captain America. He says, "You do not understand. You cannot. You and the Germans, you have your super soldiers, your secret weapons, but we Russians, we have nothing but our winter." So like that's it. Like he's like, oh, this is gonna be our guy. We're gonna have a winter soldier who will be our super soldier. And I was like, I get it. That's what they're going for.
I think it was Lucan's mentor, Karpov.
That's who it was. The bald guy.
Yeah, from Cronus, the town, is what it was. But yeah, I mean, I think though that Brubaker threaded this needle really well. That like by this issue, I think there's no doubt in any reader's mind that this is really Bucky. Like it's a really tough thing that in retrospect, but at the time I was like, yeah, I'm following along. This works really well, and I'm on board, and I believe everything.
Yeah. Because if you remember, and maybe you don't, you're probably better off if you don't. But Hush, everybody thought it was going to reintroduce Jason Todd, and then it had Jason Todd show up, and then it was like, psych, just kidding, it's not Jason Todd. And then Jason Todd came back like a year later.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because it fucking sucks to fuck with your readers like this.
Yeah.
But I think Colossus had come back around this time, but like nobody cared. I mean, people cared that Colossus had been dead, but I think Bucky was kind of like those untouchable characters, even though he died in a retcon.
Yeah, I mean, I was very sad that Colossus got brought back because his death was it made me cry as like a 12-year-old. So I was very upset that they had abused my 12-year-old emotions by bringing him back to life.
Oh, poor 12-year-old Chris.
And Joss Whedon did it too, who's been canceled. So maybe we can just cancel Colossus being alive again.
Cancel Colossus. That's what I say. So back to Bucky though. These years as he's going through his missions, 1973 is the first time a mission doesn't really go as planned. It's a mission in the U.S. and it goes fine, but then he's not at the extraction point. He goes to New York instead from like Chicago. He can't be found for a couple of weeks. They finally they wake up sleeper agents looking for this guy, which is a really nice touch that I like. That they're like, this was such a big deal that people who have just been like planted in different places, like we had to wake them up to be like, find Bucky.
Right. Just season 3 of The Americans is just like, you have to find Bucky right now.
Oh shit, yeah.
That should have been a tie-in. They find him finally in a flop house on the Lower East Side of New York, which I think is the same place that Namor was when he lost his memory, right? Who else?
Wow.
Was he the one who lost his memory?
Yes, he's the one that Johnny Storm shaved into remembering that he was Namor.
If you've lost your memory in the Marvel Universe, then you need to find your way to one of these flop houses on the Lower East Side. That's just how it works.
Right.
In 1980, so after that, they're like, all right, recommended to not use him in U.S. missions anymore. In 1983, they use him in the Middle East. That Karpov guy that you were mentioning, Lukin's mentor, is like the mayor? No, major general. I read major as mayor, and I thought he was mayor for a little while. He's a major general.
The mayor of the Middle East.
The mayor. No, it's like he's a Soviet guy, and they go to the Middle East, and he's his bodyguard. And there's this nice little talk of just like, it still just kind of makes me laugh knowing that this guy who fought with Captain America is now my bodyguard and willing to take a bullet for me. In 1988, he gets decommissioned. I don't remember if they said exactly why here. What was the deal with the end?
Just because he was getting
the
less
fall of
the fall of the Soviet Union and Karpov. I think it was a Karpov project. And when Karpov died,
they're like, just put him in storage.
Yeah, Karpov dies, and then they just got whatever Soviet person overseeing it, and then the Soviet Union shuts down, and he basically just gets put in Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but that's what I love about going back, because I read these issues. I think I would read all the issues of Captain America right before the new issue came out, because they're really, really quick reads. And I love that first issue though, that first scene. Red Skull's like, holy shit, you have the Winter Soldier. I've heard about this thing, but I've never had it confirmed for me. That's so cool. I love that Red Skull's geeking out about the idea. He knows about it, and he's known about it for decades. It's so cool. It just comes back full circle.
It's nice. It's really nice. On to issue. Oh wait, no, hold on. There's more. So Captain America calls Nick Fury, and Sharon is like, "Hey, y'all got to come see this." And the whole issue ends with a nice little flashback of Bucky and Cap sitting in the theater watching themselves. And Bucky's like, "Hey, Cap, you got to lighten up. Nobody understands you quite like I do." And
you're all right, Cap. And Cap's like, "Oh, my only friend." And then he looks very sad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did y'all read the letters for this? In this issue?
No, they weren't.
Somebody was like, "This story's awesome, but are U.S. Agent and Battlestar going to come into this story?" And
hell yeah.
And Brubaker's like, no, we're not.
Ooh.
He's just like, U.S. Agent and Battlestar. You're more likely to see D-Man than Battlestar. And then 15 years later, there's a Winter Soldier TV show, and Battlestar's a major character.
Wow. All right.
Battlestar has the last laugh.
Yeah. I think that was Battlestar writing the letter and putting his out there in the world.
All right, Battlestar was one of Silver Sable's Wild Pack, along with Sandman.
Oh wow!
That's some trivia from the '90s comics that I know neither of you have ever read.
I
none of
actually think I
those
have
were all
read
words
some
in
of
that sentence,
stuff.
and I understood none of them.
I've read some weird.
You know who Silver Sable and the Wild Pack are. Come on.
Not in the Wild Pack. I'm gonna Google it right now.
They're real.
God.
They're real.
I have no doubt.
All right. So issue number 12, Lucan is selling the cube. He's got a whole room full of rich people. Bidding starts at 100 billion. Back to Steve and Nick Fury and Sharon, and Steve's like, I think Lucan used the cube to put this info there for me to see so it could get into my head. And there's a lot of this issue with Sharon and Cap kind of talking, and Sharon's like, "No, there's none of Bucky left. We got to kill him." And Cap's like, "Nope, there's some Bucky left. We can save him." Back to this auction, Lucan, I don't believe he was ever going to sell this thing at all. One of the bigwigs is like, "Hey, can we get some proof that this is even a real cosmic cube, that this works?" And Lucan's like, "Hey, aren't you that guy who voted against your company selling to me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I sure am." "And you want a demonstration of the cosmic cube?" He's like, "Yeah, I sure do." And so I'm like, this is not going to go well for this guy. And so Lucan puts these contracts in front of everybody that are like, "Yeah, you're just gonna sign your corporations over and make them subsidiaries of Cronus, and you're gonna love it as you do it." And they all just sign over with smiles on their faces.
It's a real devil move to make an evil contract appear in front of someone and then mind control them into signing it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I also think, though, like, if you're going to sell that object, then you no longer have the ability to make said devil contracts, knowing someone could do that to you. So that always seems like a dumb idea.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't seem like he really wants to sell it.
Yeah, he was smart to not sell it.
It's just a fake out. And then he meets with his American, his Miguel Ferrer vice president.
Yeah, whoever his little assistant is. Yeah,
his obviously evil contact, and he's like, "I'm really worried about you, Lucan. You kind of been talking to yourself and going crazy." And he's like, "Shut up."
Yeah, he drops the cube for a second, and that guy picks it up, and Lucan just bashes his head in with a table. I thought he was dead, but we find out in the next issue that he just destroyed his eye beyond repair. And we had a lot of flashbacks throughout this issue of Cap meeting Bucky for the first time, and they fought some zombies in World War II. I think that was meant to be like, these people don't have control of themselves anymore, and we had to kill them, that kind of thing. But Sharon sends Falcon to talk to Cap, and that's the end of this issue. But the next issue, they talk a little bit more. Let's just jump into issue 13. Cap tells Sam,
"Hey," so that's cool.
Yeah, Cap tells Sam, "Hey, I want to save Bucky," and Sam says, "Good plan. Let's find out how we can do it."
Yeah. And it is funny because Falcon is like, "Oh, the cosmic cube, that's always bad news." And he's like, "That's how we met." It's kind of a funny meet cute of like, we would never be friends if not for the cosmic cube.
Not for the cosmic cube. Yep. So Lucan orders Bucky to bury the cosmic cube, and Bucky questions that decision, which Lucan does not like. "Bucky, don't you ever question me again." Meanwhile, Cap and Falcon and Iron Man bust into AID. What is AID? I first
Advanced
wrote
Ideas
AIM.
in Destruction, which I think is AIM, but they've rebranded very briefly.
That makes sense, yeah. And
or this is at least a spin-off or something, right? Because they were in an earlier issue in the first arc.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. When they don't have heads, sometimes they break off and they have different groups that are fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah. But I like these two little goons at the beginning who they're watching some robot thing, and one of the guys is like, "I'm gonna get in this," and the other guy's like, "Don't do it, man. We're gonna get in trouble."
Yeah, they're just 22 and what's his name from 47 from Venture Brothers.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Don't get in the mech suit.
And so later when the action starts, the one guy's in it already. He's like, "Hell yeah, I knew this thing would be awesome." And he shoots down Iron Man with it. But that fight was it's pretty quick. They capture a scientist and they ask him how to track down the cosmic cube. And did you really need to capture a scientist for that? They're like, he had a great idea to hone in on the unique energy signature of the cosmic cube. I'm like, yeah, that's what tracking it. I mean, y'all should have known that. Anyway, they track it down to a Cronus warehouse in West Virginia.
We didn't mention Iron Man helps.
I thought I mentioned.
Yeah,
Iron
we
Man.
briefly mentioned him, but we didn't really talk about it. Iron Man's here.
I mean,
this is pre-Civil War.
He's there.
His pre-Civil War. It does. The Iron Man connection is a little fun here because he says, I can't go to Cronus with you in West Virginia because most of my company wanted to sell to Cronus, but I wouldn't. And so now if Iron Man goes to attack Cronus, it's going to look like corporate sabotage, and I'll lose my company. And I kind of like that touch. Although you could have just shown up in like a different costume or something. I don't know.
I do like though that this book is just like, you know what, we're gonna throw Iron Man in here, we're gonna throw Falcon. They're not really central to the story, but they're extra like visual flair for fights.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, I like it.
It makes his world seem like he has more friends, but then they're also not the focus of the story.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and like Sharon is like a regular like co-worker, friend, whatever, ex-romantic partner, and then having like Falcon and other like cameos. It kind of builds the world out.
Yeah, I mean Sharon can hang out a lot more because she doesn't have any other books to be in, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's that's what that fan is saying. Like, why not Battlestar? What's he doing?
Where's
what book is Battlestar?
Nothing.
This is, I guess, a little bit before that Thunderbolts run that reintroduced, what was that guy's name? Jack something? Jack Flag or something like that. That fights the Thunderbolts. Yeah. And there's a really good fight scene where they realize they're like, oh, this guy's a joke. And it reminds me of when Spider-Man fought the Kingpin in Ultimate Spider-Man, where he's like, actually, I have superpowers. I'm bigger, faster, and stronger than like regular people by a lot. And is during the like registration thing, and so he just like beats the crap out of like a bunch of goons, and then like gives the Thunderbolts a run for their money. And you're like, oh, see, you could redeem a character like Battlestar. Why not?
Why not? You just put Battlestar in everything from now on. Well, that's what we're saying.
Spoiler alert for Falcon Winter Soldier: Battlestar didn't make it. But
hey, they'll bring him back for whatever Phase 6 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Battlestar and U.S. Agent.
Yeah,
that'll be coming directly to Disney Plus.
I feel like we need to remind listeners Battlestar is not actually in these issues. We've been talking a lot about Battlestar. He's not important, and he's not in
I just
these
think it's
all,
hilarious. So. The book that created the Winter Soldier is like, fuck Battlestar. That's dumb. he's lower than D-Man, who was found living in the sewers as a homeless man around that time. That's how little we think of Battlestar. And then Winter Soldier gets his own TV show. And they're like, first thing, let's put Battlestar in it. Like it's a really fun full circle. And you know what? I cared about Battlestar. I never ever heard of Battlestar up until that moment.
I mean, if you'd read the original U.S. Agent run, you would at least know who he was.
Yeah, maybe we should read. Maybe that should go on the list. An ode to Battlestar.
The original John Walker storyline is an interesting one. But anyway, back to this.
We need to get back to the story. All right, so Cap is on his way with Sam to this warehouse. He calls Sharon while they're on their way, and he's like, "Sharon, come help me." And she's like, "Oh, damn it! Now I gotta go help him." Bucky sees Cap and Sam show up, and he aims at them. He remembers his boss's orders to never defy him again, and he fires. Oh my god, what a cliffhanger. Issue 14, big fight. He misses, and he's like, what? Because, it's Cap and Sam. They're just on top of it. Sam kind of stays back to fight all the goons, and while Sharon's on the way, she's pulling up schematics. She's like, Bucky's going to try to run, and if he gets to the networks of caves, then we're back to square one. You got to get him, Cap. So Cap is, catches up to him and tries to make him remember. And Bucky is just like not buying any of it. He fires at Captain America. Captain America kind of expected this. Throws the shield, knocks down the cosmic cube, picks it up, and uses it to make Bucky remember who he is. Whoa, I like this moment. And he's like getting all these memories flooding back into him, and he's crying. It's like, oh, you should have killed me, blah, blah, blah. Bucky grabs the cube, and he disappears. Oh, damn. Which is, it's such a great way to kind of prolong the story without, like, all right, this dude's just remembering everything. He's really struggling with all of it, and now he's disappeared. I like that.
And Falcon, of course, is like, oh, he committed suicide. Let's close the book on this one.
Yeah. Then we get this little reveal that with Lucan and
well, first we see Bucky isn't dead. He's actually he's at the same place where Cap like recruited him as a teenager, which we saw in what 2 issues earlier.
Fort Lehigh,
where they're like, this guy, yeah, if this guy likes you, you could be his partner.
Yeah, so he's still alive. He's still out there. Meanwhile, we learned that somebody else is still alive and still out there. The Red Skull has been living inside Lucan's brain. That's who Lucan's been talking to this whole time. How does that work?
The man who killed Spider-Man's parents is alive?
Oh my god, damn it. But yeah, I guess that'll come back at some point here. But that's volume 2 of Cap. Still really great. That's a great storyline. I'm excited to go back.
And I do feel like that's, like it's so obvious, like in hindsight, rereading it, but it is very elegant the way like Red Skull was killed in issue 1, and you're like, wow, like they're killing off the Red Skull. But then in issue 7 or 8, Lucan's like talking to himself and acting kind of crazy, and you're like, what's his deal? And then the reveal of like basically Red Skull as he's dying is like, put me in his brain, Cosmic Cube.
Which is it's a nice way to keep yourself alive. Just live in someone else's brain.
Well, and I think going forward, like I think Lucan starts wearing Red Skull masks, which then allows the Red Skull to do his like sneaky disguises where he can like hide in plain sight again.
Right.
So yeah, he's not physically deformed in real life anymore.
Right, and he's very clearly sort of this like corrupting influence. It's very good both as like a story standpoint and from a like if you understand like you're only playing with these toys for a limited amount of time, and future writers will probably want to use the Red Skull. It's smart to like not permanently kill this guy, to do it in a way that you can easily bring him back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what Brubaker's entire run was, is that he puts all the toys back exactly where he left them at the end of this run.
Well, except Bucky.
But he creates Bucky. He creates the Winter Soldier basically, and he like ups the profile of like Sharon and a few other characters, and leaves it at that. Like he ups characters, and then but doesn't take anything off the table. Like Crossbones, I think is a bigger deal than he ever would have been pre this run.
Yep, it's good booking.
I mean,
good booking.
Yeah, he was kind of a secondary, like because he was kind of Red Skull's like henchman that actually succeeded. It's like Destro or somebody like that in G.I. Joe, where it's like, oh, this is the one guy who could actually do something.
Yep. So shall we jump over to issue number 10 now, which was the House of M tie-in? We skipped this because it's not pertinent to this story at all. All the books kind of took a little break for House of M, and Vince, you got something to say about that?
It's funny though, because it actually does like weirdly tie into Brubaker's run. It's not like a one-off. I mean, it absolutely is a one-off. And House of M envisioned a universe where mutants ruled society and humans were now like the minority, and Magneto was king. And I think what it actually was is that everybody came to kill Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, and then she gave them each their greatest wish. So like Peter Parker, I believe Uncle Ben and Gwen were still alive in this universe. And I think the way that it played out for Captain America was that he never froze and Bucky never died. Where how it played out. So Captain America won the war in the 40s and never got off the table. So that's where this book starts.
Yeah, and this book reads a lot more like a what if issue than like a House of M tie-in issue, because the mutants come into play, but it doesn't feel like the central focus of this. It's just kind of a history of him as if he had never died throughout all this, and
it's a great what if. But there's like nice moments like that tie in, like Captain America Steve Rogers was the first man on the moon, which is absolutely what he said. Like I think in issue 4 or 5, that like, man, I wish I hadn't frozen, because like this was the kind of things I was designed for, was to go on these like risky missions to the moon and stuff like that. He even said that in earlier Brubaker's run, and so that tied in here, and I'm like, that's really cool.
Right.
I think it doesn't tie in plot wise, but it does definitely like it fits in
thematically.
It fits into the continuity continuity that it doesn't fit into, if that makes sense. So yeah, so 1946, Cap asked for permission from the president. Who was president there? Says, "Hey, let's get married."
Well, somehow FDR was somehow still alive, and he lived through the end of the war.
No, that was Truman.
Oh, that was Truman. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, he doesn't ask the president to get married. He asks the president for permission to get married. Permission. The president says, "Hey, that's cool," but now let's talk about all these mutants that's been springing up. 1951, Cap.
You could tell it was Truman because he was much shorter than Cap, and because he was walking around.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. 1951, Cap is on trial for being asked to answer questions from Senator McCarthy about his mutant friends like Namor and Toro. And Cap's like, "I'm not informing on my friends. You're dumb." 1955, Cap is the first man on the moon. Him and Peggy, who are married, are like watching his words on the TV. He says, "One small step for man, one giant leap for peace between man and mutant kind." And Peggy's like, "Oh, you just had to go and rock the boat again, didn't you? After you embarrassed yourself in front of the whole Senate." And you get this look on Steve's face of like, oh boy. And by 1957, they are broken up. Sorry, Steve. Talks to Bucky, who's like, "Yeah, whole mutant thing's complicated, man. It's not all black and white." Magneto rises to power, and now Cap speaks out about him and compares him to Hitler, and he's like, "Look, it's not even about the mutant things, just like leaders who care about you." And Magneto guy's a bad guy.
I wish they'd lean a little more into the fascism part of it, but
yeah.
Because I feel like Cap as a character can identify with, because it was these. It almost felt a little Death Wishy, where he's like, "I don't like these young rapscallions and the way they dress and everything like that."
I did feel a little sorry for Cap here because he speaks positively about mutants while everyone hates mutants, and then he speaks negatively about mutants while everyone loves mutants. So he's like, "I can't win."
Right? Yeah, he speaks negatively about the mutant that takes over for all mutants.
Yeah. But yeah, he's falling out of favor with everybody. He's not allowed to speak at Bucky's funeral when Bucky dies in the 70s. And he just kind of leads a quiet end to his life. And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of thought it would all be a little bit different." There's a quote that Peggy used to tell him that runs throughout this book of what's the quote? I didn't actually write it down, but it's well, if you got what you wanted, you can't complain. And he got what he wanted. And
I guess he never remarries and just has a uneventful life for an additional 30 years.
Yeah, just kind of it. I mean, it's a very nice issue.
It's probably the best of the House of M tie-ins.
Probably.
That is the faintest of praise.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the others, so I can't say that with a lot of certainty. But I feel like that's right.
I feel proud of 2005, Chris, that when I saw all those times, I'm like, I'm just gonna skip a month. I don't need to read these issues.
You really don't.
I didn't read this issue. I didn't read any House of M tie-in issue, and I feel great about it. That whole series seemed like a terrible idea.
House of M was my first event that I read. I jumped in halfway into Avengers Disassembled. But I was more into the Ultimate Universe at that point, so I didn't know what was really going on in Disassembled. And then New Avengers led into House of M. And House of M, to Bendis' credit, he's very good at writing events for new readers to understand new characters with broad strokes.
I still like House of M.
It has good art. I think the whole thing
does a really good job, and I think Bendis's stuff about the end of issue 3 will break the internet. And I remember reading it in between pizza deliveries to I'm like, oh shit, I can't wait to find out how Bendis is gonna break the internet this time.
It was Kim Kardashian's butt, right? That
was a young internet, which was very easy to break. The internet's a lot harder.
It was very fragile.
Yes.
This is before there were too many websites back then. Now we've consolidated it in just a handful of websites.
Stronger together.
So,
yes.
Are we ready to jump into Amazing Spider-Man now, or do we need to talk about House of M more?
Well, yeah. Do we have final thoughts on Cap the Winter Soldier?
I think it's solid. It's good. I don't feel as I actually weirdly I remember watching the movie and thinking the movie's not as good as the comic, and I do miss that the movie doesn't have Lucan. but I think
I don't think the movie needed Lucan.
I think the movie might be is pretty darn good now. Like
The movie's damn good. Yeah,
the movie's really solid. So I think the movie has gone up in favor compared to the memory of this book. I don't think the book is as good as I remember it, or as great as I remember it to be. But I think Volume 2 is not as strong as Volume 1.
I think it's stronger. I think
it's gonna pick up once we get to like the big stuff, like around issue 25. Like that's when I think it gets like really great again.
Yeah, so we'll definitely come back to Captain America here.
For my part, I really am enjoying this. Like I do think both this and the Winter Soldier movie, it's funny how much like whole scenes of the Winter Soldier, I was like, I remember when that happened. Like this was not that long ago that this comic came out, and the like whole scenes from the movie are just like, I mean, not whole scenes, but like moments from the movie are very like when Cap recognizes Bucky, and then like when he's like trying to talk to Bucky, like all that stuff is very much what it is in this comic, which I thought was cool. It's really good. It's doing such a good job of like, if you don't care about Captain America, like this is such a great jumping on point for the book, where it's just like, don't worry, like you've got Nick Fury and you got Sharon Carter, you got a couple of supporting characters that are okay, and then you got Cap, who seems kind of crazy, honestly, most of this series.
But I mean, I'm in Jack Bauer world right now. Like this is pretty normal for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, because I think everybody thinks of Captain America as like a Boy Scout who's just like, oh, like, hi, how can I help this cat get out of a tree? And so to see him like really be pissed off about, like, there's a scene where he smashes like an image of Bucky, like in, you know, whatever photograph that's just up, and he's just mad at it. And you're like, dude, like, calm down. So I think it's great to see, because I think Steve Rogers is usually such a nothing character. It's great to see him like have emotion, which, you know, they very quickly find that actually Bucky is a much more interesting character than Cap.
Yes.
But that's a story for another series of issues about Captain America.
So we do want to come back for Volume 3, it sounds like.
Yeah, honestly, now that they've got Bucky, they should just kill Captain America. That's what I think.
That's what I think. I think it's in 10 issues. Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. So yeah, let's jump over to Amazing Spider-Man now. Issue number 9. We've got Electro on the cover. The cover also promises
it's a great cover.
It is a great cover. The cover promises that we will see the defeat of Spider-Man in this issue. Did that happen?
I guess temporarily.
Okay, cool.
He's lost other fights though.
So we open with Spider-Man rushing somewhere, and he's like really going super fast. Some crooks are like there with a standoff with the police as he's approaching super fast, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Spider-Man! We gotta give up." But Spider-Man doesn't even stop to help. And they're like, "Oh, we shouldn't have given up." We find out he was running home to get medicine to Aunt May, who was sick and dying still and forever. Oh, poor Aunt May. And he, you know, Peter's
issue 9.
Yes, but Peter is such a good nephew. He like sits at the bedside while she's sleeping in case he needs her. Wow, in case she needs him. Meanwhile, Electro is putting on his suit. He's juicing up. He's ready to go out and steal some cash. Haha! She got little lightning. They look like such dainty little lightning bolts in a way. The way they're drawn, it's just like tap tap. Shoot out a little bit of lightning. Beep, beep. It doesn't look super menacing to me.
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is.
But it's lightning, you know.
I like the detail that it's like the close-up of like the police officer's watch, where he's like, "Oh no, it's coming right at me."
Yeah, and they speak about the details too, like the buttons on my coat, the metal on the ends of my shoelaces. Like, okay, I get it.
It's just like when Magneto, you know, is able to control metals. You're like, wow, there are a lot of metals.
Yeah, let's name all the metals he's controlling.
What's wild to me though is, again, we're like only like 4 pages into the story. You know, I mean 3 pages, I guess. But something I didn't really notice until I was actually looking at this issue is that there are multiple scenes per page, which is not common for comics. Like Brubaker runs a pretty breezy like 2 to 3 pages per scene. But this is like
Right.
like the page is like Peter sees Aunt May, and we get the origin of Electro in the same page.
Right. Well, and it's also, I mean, Epting's like normal panel layout. We don't really talk about the art that much on this show, but Epting's normal panel layout is like 4 vertical panels. Like he doesn't do a lot of like, he doesn't do 9-panel grids, and like that's all Ditko does. Like he does occasionally mix it up, but like his normal thing is to have 9 panels on the page.
And it doesn't feel like Ditko is very interested in like constructing like a page. It's more or less I needed this many panels to do this, and it doesn't really matter if they lip over into the next page or not. And then the rest of the page is a different scene. It doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Every panel is like its own little page, and there's like it's a 9. How many issues was this? How many pages was this? Like 23. 23 times 9, whatever that is. 230 minus 20, 207. It does 207 page comic.
Yeah, in the action scene, it does slow down to 6 panels when they're actually fighting people.
Oh, you're right.
So there is more room for the fights. But yeah, then when it switches back to talking, it's like, nope, we need 9 again.
Every single Spider-Man issue that we've read for the show, like at some point I'm like, oh, I've got to be pretty close to the end of this. Where am I at? Page 6? What the hell? Every damn time. All right. So
you get a lot for your quarter.
You really do, yeah. Aunt May is getting sicker. Aunt May is really, really sick in this issue, like seriously sick. They got to take her to the hospital this time, and she has to stay at the hospital overnight. She's got to get ready for a surgery or something. And,
it's a good thing that American healthcare has gotten much better in the last 50 years.
Hot takes. All right,
it's going to be like $1,000 to get this procedure.
I mean, yeah, $1,000 back then. What kind of money?
I think we totaled it up. It's probably like 8,000. I think according to the inflation calculator.
Yeah. So Flash, Peter Parker is not paying much mind to anybody at school, even though the kids are still all teasing him. He's only got his aunt on his mind. And Flash has like a newfound respect for Peter after the last issue in that big fight. And he's like, hey, Peter, I want to talk to you. And Peter gives him the cold shoulder. And he's like, man, I should have known better than to try to talk to Peter. I still hate him now. Peter shows up right before Aunt May's surgery, and Betty Brant is there for support. What a nice lady here. At this point, I'm really starting to wonder how there was ever another love interest in Peter Parker's life, because Betty Brant, it's all she is. She's number one.
She's really good. She's solid.
She's really good. She's solid. Peter is looking for something to take pics of so that he can make some money for the surgery. And then it starts raining, and he's like, well, you can't take anything in this rain. That sucks.
My phone will mess up in the rain. I can't drop it in water. Electronics. That makes sense.
Yep. Electro, meanwhile, attacks the bank while J. Jonah Jameson is there, and he recognizes J. Jonah Jameson. He's like, taking money from Jonah. And J. Jonah Jameson remembers this, and he's like, that's a clue. I got to remember that. And later,
he says he must be someone I know, as if J. Jonah Jameson doesn't have his name on the fucking building.
Yeah, he's every but he sees Spider-Man swing by afterwards, and Spider-Man this is a weird caption where he's like, looks like there was something going down there. Well, I guess it's over. I'll just keep swinging by. And he says, he concludes that Electro is Spider-Man, and he tells the cops, and the cops don't believe him, so of course he prints it anyways. And
I go back to this. I mention this every now and then. The Twitter account Movie Heads that just analyzes movie headlines, like of newspaper headlines, to see like do they actually fit like newspaper guidelines.
Not at all.
Electro is really Spider-Man on the
basis of oh god, the use of the word "really" in that headline is the weirdest thing to me. Electro is really Spider-Man.
But then it says on the basis of indisputable evidence, so we absolutely believe this. The Bugle accuses Spider-Man. Like, I wouldn't accuse him. He is it if you have the indisputable evidence. Don't hedge there.
This is sub New York Post quality journalism.
It's really pretty bad. So Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
At least the New York Post would have like a silly joke or something if they said Spider-Man is Electro. I mean, they would say like, shocking discovery, Spider-Man is Electro. Something like that. Something shitty.
I was in the New York Post once, and the article was pretty shitty, so I agree. We get Peter asking J. Jonah Jameson for money for the surgery. And of course, J. Jonah Jameson says no, but he says, hey, I got an idea. I'll give it to you if you can give me photographic evidence that Spider-Man is Electro. And Peter gets an idea from this. He's like, oh, I can just capture Electro and get the reward money. So he goes around looking for Electro. He finally finds him, takes some pictures, but then he gets shocked as soon as he touches him. And he's like, oh, damn it, I failed. Well, guess I'll alter some photos of Spider-Man to make it look like he's Electro so that I can get the money.
Yeah, and, that was the defeat on the cover, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And I question this decision by Peter, but you know what? He gets the money. He goes through with it.
You know, it's stupid. And like in terms of journalistic integrity and like setting himself up to like get sued,
for real.
It's really, he's also a 15-year-old boy. It's very stupid.
It's you know.
I'm gonna let it pass. I'm gonna let it pass because he's a dumb 15-year-old boy.
Yeah. So
and he's desperate.
I do like the people buying the Bugle that are like, Jameson wouldn't print it if it weren't true.
Yeah.
I do like there is one super media savvy person that's like, there's actually no evidence in this article.
I do like that there are people who aren't just blindly accepting of J. Jonah. Even the cops at the beginning, like one of them was like, oh, he's got a point. And the other one's like, don't listen to his bullshit, man. It's just bullshit.
Like Spider-Man has only helped us.
Yeah, like calm down. So we get a quick origin of Electro as Max Dillon, who was an electric lineman who was such an asshole that he would leave somebody to die unless they paid him $100 to go up and get him. One day he's on the job and he gets struck by lightning, and it gives him electric powers.
Knowing your value, why do they hate him?
So you know, he gets his electricity power, blah blah blah. He decides he's going to now do his like biggest plan. He goes to the prison to bust out a bunch of prisoners. And they all start like running out of the building. He says, "Hey, hold up and obey me." But they keep running anyways. And
amazing.
But this is my panel of the week where they run out straight into one of the cops punches one of the prisoners right in the face, who says, "We should have waited. Should have listened to Electro."
Oh,
you're right. I didn't write down the O. Yeah. You guys both read that perfectly, though. Good job.
We had different reads. I liked Chris's though.
But they worked well together, I think. So Peter shows up.
That's what I do when someone gives me advice and then I don't listen to it and immediately fall into the trap of what they were doing about it. I say, no, I should have listened.
So Peter shows up. He's got rubber gloves and rubber boots this time. Very smart. Electro has a gun for some reason, though. I don't know. Peter throws sand. There's a lot of sand in this book. I feel like Stan Lee was like, put sand in it. I love sand. I love throwing sand. He throws sand at Electro, and Electro's like, don't you know that electricity can turn sand into glass? And I don't think it's quite that simple, but he does manage to turn the sand into glass. Sure. While he's showing off, Spider-Man webs the gun, and then a little bit more fighting ensues, and he shoots him with some water, and he's down.
I will say, Electro pulling a gun is pretty weak. It's like you shoot lightning bolts out of your hands, and you're like, now to shoot you with a pistol.
It's very strange. J. Jonah Jameson is ready to kill Peter Parker for making a fool of him, because they're all at this thing, and you know, Peter Parker and Spider-Man showed up, and now J. Jonah Jameson's like, oh, they're both in the same place at the same time. Oh. But Peter has these great new Electro picks to sell, and so J. Jonah Jameson's like, all right, you're off the hook. And meanwhile, J. Jonah Jameson thinks he's gotten one over on Peter. I was like, he has no idea how much money these picks are really worth. And Peter simultaneously thinks he's gotten one over on J. Jonah Jameson. It's like, whew, get back in. I'm not going to sue me. I'm not in trouble. Great.
I love the facial expressions on both of them in that scene. Like, Peter is so smug. Like, oh, is there something? Like, he reminds me of like the Donald Duck cartoons when Donald Duck would be like ruffling his like pockets or whatever. Like, oh, what could you want from me? And
yeah, J. Jonah Jameson's face is so maniacal in this. The money from these pictures.
It's great. He's the best character in this book.
He really is, man. I don't know what Spider-Man would be without J. Jonah Jameson.
He's
So
like
we get a
an
nice
evil Commissioner Gordon almost.
Yeah.
Like he's fitting the human part of it. He's so good though. I was sad because Jameson wasn't in the Living Brain issue last issue, which is probably why it was the worst issue.
Yeah.
That probably is why it was the weakest one we've had since like the beginning. But yeah, he's back. He's completely crazy.
Yep.
He is so surprised when he's just like, this proves that Spider-Man hasn't shown up in the first 2 seconds of this fight. Electro is Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man swings in. He's like, no.
I love it.
He's distraught. But we get a nice little ending with Betty and Peter. I missed this part where the operation with Aunt May was a success. And Betty is like, okay, I have to go help with work because the news is going to be covering this riot. Peter, I beg you not to go because it's dangerous. And he's like, I've got to go. And she's like, oh, I knew it. You're addicted to danger, just like someone else I used to know. And, they kind of almost break up over it, and Peter leaves. But then, Betty comes back to him, and there's a nice little moment at the end.
Break up? Are they a couple? What?
Well, you know what I mean. Peter just like, forget it. I don't need you if you're not going to be into it or something like that. He's
It's
real
a super
quick to walk out.
incel-y kind of thing where she's like, look, Betty, I like you better than any other girl I've ever known. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you, but you can't stop me from doing what I have to do. Like, okay, chill.
It is like the scene where Betty is like, Peter seems so calm, but there's a secret burning beneath the surface that I find so attractive. You're like, okay.
Yeah. I don't remember who Betty. Oh, I do know. Was it Ned? Was Betty's old Bert? Well, we'll get to that later. And we have who's on the cover of the next issue? The Enforcers, another big time Marvel villain who's definitely come back.
Who could forget? I can't wait for Marvel Universe Phase 6, the Enforcers movie coming soon.
That seems more like something that Sony would try to get off the ground. I bet that's in the Sony contract.
That would be a Sony movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah, alongside the Morbius and the Silver Sable and Black Cat movie they were trying to get off the ground.
Yeah, they canceled Silver Sable and Black Cat.
They would probably make it like a TV series called Spiderman and the Enforcers or something like that. I feel like that would be a better way to. You know what? Let's just take the Enforcers out of it. Just call it Spider-Man. I think that would make more money.
No, I take Spider-Man out of it. I just want a bunch of carnies doing judo to like shopkeepers.
Yeah, and maybe Michael Morbius
no
and Jared Leto will show up briefly to tie it in.
I don't get that reference.
Jared Leto plays Morbius in a real movie that they advertised that was supposed to come out last October. It never did. And Michael Keaton's Vulture from the Spider-Man movies, isn't it?
Oh. I thought you said Michael Moore, and I don't know Michael Moore.
Hey Chris, I'm reading the special announcements section at the end of this Spider-Man issue, and it says that issue 3 of X-Men's now on sale, and it'll show you that Beast isn't like the Thing, as many readers have implied.
Wow. Good to know. I've been saying Beast and the Thing are the same. Like Jonah Jameson, I'm just holding up pictures of them. And I'm like, these are the same person.
They're the same person. That makes sense to me. But I don't know if Beast should have. I don't want to get off topic. Okay. Next time, what are we doing next time? Amazing Spider-Man number 10, starring the Enforcers, as we all know, and we're gonna read some Black Widow from the '80s by Ralph Macchio. It's a collection.
Kid himself.
Yes.
Wait, what? No, that's not the different Ralph Macchio. But we're reading a collection called Black Widow Web of Intrigue. We're not going to read the entire thing because it's kind of a big collection, but we are going to read the first 2 stories that are collected in here, just the Ralph Macchio ones. There's a story from Marvel Fanfare, number 10 through 13. That's 4 issues from 1982 with art by George Perez. And then we're going to read a quick one-shot from Bizarre Adventures number 25 from 1981, which is a black and white Marvel magazine thing. I don't know much about these here. I think you guys know more about them. Art by Paul Gulaci? I don't know.
Gulaci, I think. I don't know how to say it. One of the Shang-Chi artists who is going to be in a Marvel phase, whatever.
Right,
Marvel Phase
Shang-Chi.
4, the
Was there a
second one.
trailer for that?
Yeah, there is. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings or something. I don't know. It's I think it's the son from Kim's Convenience. Is it? The trailer looks good. Awkwafina's in it. The Eternals trailer I did not look very interested in, but we're getting 4 Marvel movies in the next 6 months. So we've got
Really? I haven't watched a single trailer. I need to get on it.
We've got Black Widow in July, Shang-Chi I think in August or September, Eternals in November, and Spider-Man in December. It's gonna be.
We're gonna have to. Yeah. We're gonna have to read some tie-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever read any Spider-Man for this book? It'll be fun.
I don't think so.
For this podcast. Great. So. Yeah.
And tune in next week or next episode as I explain what Marvel Fanfare and Bizarre Adventures are.
Cool.
It's different than Marvel Comics Presents, I guess. But
yeah, I don't know anything about that. What else is going on? Vince, how you doing? Vince, you just moved.
I did just move. I'm in a new studio. But we'll figure out our sound system from there. I haven't posted a video I posted a video, I guess, 2 weeks ago on my That Was a Game channel about Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, a Donkey Kong game where you play with bongos. And it was more or less because I made a video 5 years ago. I fully edited it and then lost the source video. And at the beginning of that video, it says, last time I talked about Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, so I had to make that whole Donkey Kong Jungle Beat video to make the other one make sense because I lost the audio.
Wow.
So you'll hear what I sounded like 5 years ago on my next video whenever I get a chance to post it.
Nick Fury will easily know that it was 5 years earlier.
Yes, he will.
Mm-hmm.
Good time.
Yeah. Very good time. Yeah. Speaking of somebody else who sounds a little different, Chris has a cold, if you couldn't tell, and his voice is a little deeper than usual.
How dare you?
What's your stupid minds up to, Chris?
Well, we will have a new episode coming out here in a little bit. We did a Mortal Kombat episode that you can still check out. I feel like there's another episode we've done since then. But anyway, we will have...
It's Yumi Mine? I can't remember the name of it.
Yes, Yumi Madness.
Yes, the Stephen Mnuchin wife movie.
And I guess I can say for all of the crossover listeners out there that our next episode will be New Mutants.
Shit.
We'll be covering a recent, not well received comic book movie that I have been meaning to see because I have heard nothing but mediocre things.
It's on Hulu. It's only 90 minutes. It can't be that bad.
I think it's on HBO Max, too.
Is it HBO Max? Is that what it's on? Yeah, I've seen it, definitely. It's only 90 minutes. It's got Anya Taylor-Joy on it from The Queen's Gambit. It's got Arya Stark in it. It's got a demon bear.
It's got Arya.
Demon Bear.
Yeah, we covered the Demon Bear for the show. Yeah, friend of the show, Demon Bear.
Yeah. So, yeah, look forward to that. I haven't been streaming much still. I played I think one day of Subnautica since our last episode here. One day I'll get back to it. I still mean to get to it, but time. I watch too much wrestling. I got to figure out a way to monetize the amount of wrestling I watch. That's the plan here.
Oh, you should do. Can you do a little stream where you're a little head talking about wrestling, or does that not accepted?
I don't even know, man.
Did you see, and I don't want to have a whole conversation about it, Kia, but did you see Aubrey Sitterson worked on these Winter Soldier issues?
Who's Aubrey Sitterson? I don't know who that is.
He's a YouTube guy that reviewed wrestling. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he then wrote for Transformers and some other indie comics. But basically, he's one of these guys that people on YouTube are very mad at because he's got an agenda or whatever. But yes, he I guess kind of was a YouTuber who talked about wrestling, and I don't know if he still has a channel or not. But I saw the name and I was like, I remember that guy from 6 or 7 years ago, and I knew there was some controversy with I don't want to get into it, but with a certain comics jerk, Ethan Van something or other. Again, I don't even want to say their names. But I just thought that was interesting because I was like, oh, I know who that is, but only through wrestling YouTube.
Weird. No, yeah. If I monetized, it'd be just all the weird Japanese wrestling that nobody else watches. That I'm sure somebody would want some updates on. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. That's what I'm thinking about these days. And I'm doing puzzles and I'm working. So that's the life. But I think that's it for this episode. It's getting late. It's midnight, and I'm a little drunk and I'm a little tired. Time to go to bed. Vince, I love you.
Love you too.
Chris, I love you.
I have to grab this cosmic cube before I answer this.
Oh my god. And okay, now that you've grabbed it.
Sorry, I teleported away.
God damn it. All right. Well,
he teleported away and then said, "Sorry, I teleported away."
All right. Listener, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you all next time. Have a good night. Bye.